Google and YouTube just admitted they were suppressing speech by right conservative wing individuals, and they took them off their platform. We're going to talk about that. James Comey, the former FBI director, he has now been indicted. What has he been indicted for? And is he on the run? And is he actually going to show up to court? The ICE shooter, what's the information that we know now? The left is calling him that he's one of us. The right's calling him, say he's one of them. And I'm going to get into that. I'm going to tell you exactly which way it goes. And Trump is at the Ryder Cup. You got Hakeem Jeffries going all up in arms saying, well, we got a government shutdown, and Trump's at the Ryder Cup. The guy can't take a day off. And is free speech in trouble in America? Where do we stand in 2025? And it's more important now than it's ever been. Stick around. You just might learn something. So Google and YouTube face pressure from the Biden administration to censor Republican voices even when no rules were broken. Email and testimony reveal government requests to flag and remove content. While tech companies called it coordination, critics say it crossed into the First Amendment violations. So who do they censor? They censored conservative podcasters, Republican candidates running for the midterms, and commentators questioning COVID policies and election integrity. That's huge. You couldn't say anything about COVID. If you had another view about COVID, or a doctor or a medical profession had another view that wasn't what the government wanted you to hear, they shut you down for violating no policies at all on YouTube. And Google was suppressing searches when you try to get information on that. It steered you in a completely different direction. That's censorship by the government at its finest. If we didn't have Elon Musk purchase X, formerly Twitter, do you know what kind of information we wouldn't know? We wouldn't have the Twitter files. All those files about the COVID origins, what they were doing. Dr. Fauci was emailing people back and forth on the Twitter format page, and they were confessing. He even admitted on those files that the whole 6-foot thing was they just kind of made it up. And they suppressed all that. If Elon Musk didn't buy that, we wouldn't know any of this stuff. There's a treasure trove on the Twitter files that you guys should make a little leap and go down that rabbit hole. You'll be shocked and awed at the information they were talking behind closed doors and hiding from the American people. And this is how important Elon Musk feels free speech absolutely is. Take a listen.
We must protect free speech. And free speech only matters, it's only relevant when it's someone you don't like saying something you don't like, because obviously speech that you like is, it's easy. The thing about censorship is that, sure, for those who would advocate it, just remember, at some point, that will be turned on you.
That's why he did it. Elon Musk is going to go down in history as somebody who probably single-handedly saved free speech from the mainstream media. He did. X is a platform now you can say whatever you want. And he did that because now that Congress knows that YouTube and Google was censoring people on the right, and we all knew this. I mean, we all knew they were doing this. We had congressional hearings all the time with these individuals, and we're criticizing them. They were hiding stuff from us, from the public, because they thought they were better. They thought they knew better than we knew ourselves. Check a little dialogue that Nancy Mace had with some of the executives that were formerly on Twitter before Elon Musk took them over.
Did the U.S. government ever contact you or anyone at Twitter to pressure Twitter to moderate or censor certain tweets? Yes or no?
We have a program.
Did the U.S. government ever contact you or anyone at Twitter to censor or moderate certain tweets? Yes or no?
We receive legal demands to remove content from the platform from the U.S. government and governments all around the world. Those are published on a third-party website, and anyone can review
Thank
them.
God for Matt Taibbi. Thank God for Elon Musk for allowing to show us in the world that Twitter was basically a subsidiary of the FBI, censoring real medical voices with real expertise that put real Americans' lives in danger because they didn't have that information.
You see right there, they were told by the government to hide things. And they try to tap dance around and say, well, we were going by our policies. No, they weren't. The government put their foot on the neck of free speech. And thanks to Elon Musk, we know all about this stuff now. And that's how important it is. And now that we find out that they're doing all of this, What's next? I mean, the whole left was on outrage because Jimmy Kimmel got taken off the air for 6 or 7 days, and he got a nice vacation from it. He's back now. He had huge ratings on his first show, but I'll be very clear on that. He had huge ratings because everybody was watching to see what he'd actually say. I'd give it another week or two, and that's all going to die down, and he's going to go back to the same old Jimmy, and he's going to be going after Donald Trump again, and he's going to never learn his lesson that what he said was insensitive. He didn't even apologize for what he said. He didn't even apologize. He said he shouldn't have said that at that time, made light of a young man's murder, and that was fine, but he couldn't even apologize for what he had said because he's an asshole and he's a prick and he thinks he's better than everybody else. That's why he didn't do it. His ego gets in the way. So I believe the government cannot legally censor your speech, but they can do it through proxy. And they were doing it in the Biden administration, going to these privately owned companies and telling them to suppress the speech of individuals that didn't go along with their narratives. So now this is out of the bag with Jimmy Kimmel, and Charlie Kirk actually loses his life over free speech and being able to say whatever he wants. But yeah, that was okay what they did. Completely okay. And nobody cares. That's the sad thing about it. Nobody cares. Everybody's talking about, well, it's a privately owned platform. They can do whatever they want. No, they can't, man. No, they can't anymore. They might have been able to do that 20 years ago. Not anymore. This is where Americans and the world gets their information from. And when you censor free speech that you don't like, I even think hate speech should be allowed. There's nothing wrong with hate speech. It's speech you just don't like. The only thing you should be protected from is screaming fire in a crowded theater and threatening somebody with bodily physical harm. That's it. Other than that, if you don't like somebody because of their nationality or they're tall, fat, skinny, their religion, and you want to say something about it, who cares? That's free speech. I don't say it. I don't think you should say it, but I believe that should be protected. I don't believe anybody should have their speech suppressed by the government whatsoever. Pam Bondi was on there talking about the other day about free speech and that hate speech. They're going to go after people that have hate speech.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie in our society.
Hate speech is protected speech, in my opinion. I bet you if that got challenged to the Supreme Court, it would be overturned. I bet you it would, because free speech is free speech. You can say whatever you want without fear of the government's interference and arresting you. It's paramount in our society. Absolutely paramount. And if Elon Musk didn't buy Twitter, who knows the kind of information we'd have? Who knows? We wouldn't have free reign right now. You probably wouldn't have Zuckerberg flip over with Meta. You can say whatever you want with Meta, Facebook, and Instagram. It's a fantastic platform right now. None of my stuff gets censored on his platform. Absolutely none of it gets censored. And that's the way it should be. Free speech is free speech. And I believe that people that are trying to defend it because they know how valuable it is for our society to have dialogue between each other, they should be praised and not shot at, not taken off the air. And listen, you may not like what Jimmy Kimmel says, but I believe he could have said it. But he didn't go to jail for it. He got his job back. They brought him back. Good for him. And he should be able to say whatever insensitive shit he wants to say and not get fired for it. But he did. He should say whatever insensitive stuff he wants to say. Now, you can get fired from it if that doesn't go along the commitment of community standards that your company has set forth. Sure, you can get fired, but you don't go to jail for it. And I think that's really important in today's society, that we start figuring out exactly what we can and cannot do. Because right now, free speech is having a problem. Now, James Comey has been indicted. The former FBI director under Obama, and then Trump fired him about a week later. He's indicted by a grand jury in Virginia for lying to Congress and obstruction of justice. Now, I think he's the first one to fall. I talked about this a little bit last night. I think he's the first domino in that whole line of people. I think John Brennan's next. I think the guy with the mustache. I think John Bolton's next, the former national security advisor under Donald Trump. I think he's next. They got him caught red-handed with secret documents at his house. And they're going after all these people. And I think James Comey is probably the head of the snake. And the reason why they're going after him is because I think he's the weakest link. He's the first one. I think he's the weakest link to go down. And then you got the left saying, well, you know, Trump's just going after his political rivals, people that don't agree with him. It's a revenge tour. Yeah, I think it is a revenge tour. I think it absolutely is a revenge tour. I mean, no one's above the law, right? No one's above the law. The Democrats said it about 150 times. Listen.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law, not even the son of the President of the United States.
No one is above the law.
The fact is, no one is above the law.
The idea that no person is above the law is a bedrock principle of American justice.
No man is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one else is above the law, including a president.
Nobody is above the law.
That no one, not even the president, is above the law.
And that no one is above the law.
No one is above the law, and our president is not above the law.
No man is above the law, and no person is above the law.
No one is above the law.
That, nor any other title, puts you above the rule of law.
No one is above the law.
That is what it means to have a rule of law. That is what it means to not have a king.
They're not above the law.
Nobody is above the law.
Well, that no one is above the law.
We have one set of laws in this country, and they apply to everyone.
The law is the law, and no one should be above it.
Yes, nobody is above the law.
I know, that's funny. No one's above the law, but all of a sudden, the Justice Department of Donald Trump goes after James Comey, and apparently some people are actually above the law. And James Comey is now indicted for false statements to Congress and obstruction of justice. Now, I'm going to compare it to Trump's legal warfare he had, because James Comey, he's been indicted, okay, by a grand jury in Virginia. Does that mean he's going to go to jail and he's going to be found guilty? No, it doesn't mean that. You know, the old saying is you can indict a ham sandwich. Well, they indicted James Comey. But I think he's the first domino to fall. I think John Brennan's going to go. I think John Bolton's going to go. John Bolton, last week, they found top secret documents at his house. He was a national security advisor under Trump. And he's kind of a dirtbag too. He hates Trump. But they found secret documents at his house. He's not supposed to have those. Those are illegal to have. He wasn't the president of the United States. And John Brennan, he worked with Obama and the CIA to fabricate the whole Russia hoax. Now we know that from the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, came out with that information. Isn't that crazy? When you start peeling back the layers of the onion, you really get to the center of the meat of it, don't you? They're finding out all this stuff. And James Comey is the first one to fall.
My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
And they're all going to go. They're all going to get caught, and they need to be caught. And they need to go to jail for what they did. Because if you don't punish these guys and gals, what kind of country do we have when the rich and powerful aren't held accountable like everybody else? Because I guarantee you, if that was me or you, you'd be in jail. You'd definitely be in jail. So his charges stem from a 2020 Senate testimony about Russia investigation. It was filed in the District of Virginia, and the DOJ memos reportedly warned evidence may be weak, but prosecutors pushed for it anyway. Supporters of it, accountability is finally here, and critics, it's political revenge. Political revenge, remember what they were doing to Donald Trump? Remember what they were doing to him? They went after him for everything. You know, after his presidency, the New York hush money case with Stormy Daniels, then the Georgia election case, the alleged interference, you know, when he made the phone call, the federal classification of documents case, when they stormed a former president's home, raided it in the middle of the night, went through his wife's underwear drawer, trying to find documents and secret documents that he had none. He was a president of the United States. He can declassify whatever he wants. He's the president of the United States. And everything he had was secure and a safe, in other words. And remember those pictures they had to lay out all these photos of all these documents? They were all fake. They weren't even real photographs. They staged all that shit. But they went after him for that. Then the January 6th related charges, obstruction and conspiracy. Now we know what happened with that. There's some information that just came out that recently. And the civil fraud trial in New York that tied him to inflated assets of values. And then since then, they also did political targeting. They tried to debank him. Major banks cut ties with Trump's businesses after January 6th. He wasn't allowed to, he tried to deposit $1 billion into a bank account and they wouldn't let him do it. And the ballot states, okay, Democrats and activist groups tried to remove him from 26 state ballots under the 14th Amendment Insurrection Act. And their claims, the courts shot them down, but they tried. They tried to get him off the ballot. And you try to tell me Comey getting indicted for lying to Congress is that bad. They try to ruin Donald Trump's life. They try to put him in prison because he decided to run for re-election. So now the shoe's on the other foot. The hunted is now the hunter.
I said I had to focus. I was the hunted, and now I'm the hunter. It's a big difference.
As Donald Trump says. And this is all going to be an eye-opening case. But the problem is the left is never going to believe it. They're never going to believe it. Oh, God, this is Donald Trump just doing this to get back at his political enemies. No, it's not. It's probably a little bit of revenge. But they're going to go after all of them. They're going to get them all. And they're all going to go to prison. And they need to go to prison. Because at what point are we going to let the rich and powerful elitists continue to run our country without any ramifications like the rest of the citizens get? That's very important. We all get that. And now it's their turn. So the ICE shooter that was shooting at the van, remember guys, he was just taking pop shots at the van. He wasn't targeting anybody because people would say, oh, well, he was only shooting illegals, so he must be a conservative MAGA guy. No, he was just randomly shooting at the building and into the vehicle. And he just happened to get two people that were detainees. One died. I think one or a couple people are critically injured. But this is what happens. Attack happened in the morning on September 24th. Okay, now the individual, what he had a bolt action rifle. Isn't that strange? Another white guy with a bolt action rifle. I guess this is like the sniper's choice now. Isn't it funny? Every time gun violence happens, they talk about we don't need the AR-15s, right? We got to get rid of the AR-15s. And these last two gun incidences were with bolt action rifles. No one's talking about bolt action rifles because those are like the hunting rifles. No one's saying that. No one's saying we got to ban those now, but it's the AR-15, but they didn't even use AR-15s. So some of the stuff that they found, the investigators, they found handwritten notes and materials in his residence suggesting he intended to terrorize ICE agents that are targeting federal immigration personnel. Early evidence shown publicly include unfired cartridges, shells, casing that say anti-ICE written on them, which federal leaders cited as indicating of an ideological move. Officials described the act as premeditated, and an individual appears to have acted alone. We got another white male, 18 to 28, typically what's going on right now, and they're shooting people. Why? What's going on? Is it the dark web that's sucking these people in? Are they getting influence from outside sources? Is it the video games that they're playing that are giving them an untapped, unchecked dose of reality and they just feel numb to it now? I don't know, but there's something there. There's a mental health crisis in our country, and these young adult males are causing a lot of havoc in our society, and I don't know why. I believe these young men are more immature than I was at that age, 18, 22, 28. They clearly look a lot younger than they probably are, and they're not into reality. Their reality has been distorted by whatever the hell they're going through on the black web, because these guys are finding violence as an answer. They don't care about the sanctity of life anymore. They just feel if they got to prove a point. They don't like something now, they lash out. They lash out now. What if we taught our kids now, right? We taught the young kids, if you don't like something, go tell your principal, go be a tattletale. But now they're lashing out. I think all those years of telling them to go tell the principal, go tell your teacher, go tell your parents, not letting them just lash out and get a punch in the face. I think that made a big difference with these kids now. So now all that pent up rage is in there and they got to release it. And so they said, you know what? We're going to go shoot somebody today because I don't like the ICE agents out there and all the propaganda the left is spewing hate all day long. His mother was said to be a hardcore anti-gun activist. She posted several times on her Facebook page that we should have stricter gun laws, that guns should be out of people's hands, nobody should be able to get a gun. And she was really anti-gun. And yet her son commits heinous violence with a gun. Irony is crazy with these people. Now, Trump is at the Ryder Cup. And Hakeem Jeffries is going nuts. Take a listen.
The off-ramp, here's the off-ramp. Donald Trump, get back to Washington, D.C. Why are you at a golf event right now and the government is 4 days away from closing? That's outrageous. And it speaks to the fact that these people, these extremists, they could care less about the health, the safety, and the economic well-being of the American people. They could care less. They're on vacation right now.
Listen, Donald Trump just met with everybody from the UN. He's met with world leaders afterwards. He's traveled the world. The guy likes golf. And sometimes he just needs a break. But, you know, the government shutdown threats are all looming now. And here's the thing about the government shutdowns. Nobody cares about the government shutdown, guys. Nobody cares unless you're a government employee and then maybe you don't get a paycheck for a week or two, but you always get your back pay. Nobody cares. They cried wolf about the government shutdown so much that the media is using it to stir up anger throughout everybody else. And we don't care anymore. I don't give a shit if they shut down the government. I know you don't really care either. Maybe you don't get a paycheck for a couple weeks, but you're going to get your paycheck. And if you have a problem paying your bills, you call your company, say, listen, I'm a federal worker. Things are going to be behind. The bills are going to be behind because I didn't get paid this week. And they will all understand. You won't get any dings on your credit probably. And when you get paid in 2 weeks after that, you'll be fine. So it's a scare tactic that the left is doing, and the right does it too, but it's a scare tactic that the media does to us every freaking few months about shutting down the government. And Hakeem Jeffries is all pissed off at Donald Trump because he's taken a couple of days or so to himself to go enjoy some golf for a little bit. Come on, man. You know, it's funny. The outrage about Donald Trump going to the Ryder Cup, and nobody cares about Biden, right? Biden spends half his presidency on vacation, but nobody says anything about it, right? The truth is, America doesn't care about these shutdown tactics anymore. We don't. We want things to just keep moving along. And if you come at us with, we're going to shut down the government, you're not going to get paid, we're not going to be able to run the government anymore, that's falling on deaf ears now, guys. Politicians, hello, we're talking to you. We don't care anymore. It happens every few months. It's a scare tactic you've been using for over a decade now. And the people are just completely numb to it. And it doesn't bother us. We don't even flinch anymore when you hear about it. So keep coming with it. Because we're not scared. The whole government shutdown bullshit, just do your job. Do your job. And Donald Trump deserves a freaking day off. He can take a day off, man. Just take a day off. If there's anything you got to criticize the guy, you criticize him on that, give me a break. So where does all of this leave us for free speech in 2025? Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter and change it to X is a huge factor in where we are today. The court striking down the ballot bans, that was huge. The pushback against censorship at congressional hearings, that was huge. Big tech is still under government pressure, sometimes to moderate content. Local politicians are still trying to help people and suppress some speech as well on the local levels. You don't see it, but it's happening on local levels. The media bias, the voices canceled, advertisers pulled, shows yanked, Jimmy Kimmel suspension. There are repercussions for things that you say, and I'm okay with that. But you should be able to say whatever you want. Financial debanking, the president get debanking. A lot of companies, if they don't like what you say, they're going to debank you. This is a path that the United States of America has been going down for several years now. And the Democrats are the ones that are pushing that narrative. It's not the right. Don't get it twisted. Don't think that what the right is doing because they decided to make a funny tweet about maybe the FCC should go after Jimmy Kimmel and ABC about what he said. That was like a tongue-in-cheek moment for the FCC chair. Should he have done it? No, he shouldn't have done it. It was poor taste. And it looks bad. But he did do it. And it was a joke. But everybody takes the thing seriously. The FCC has no power to do any of that. And they knew it. They're just using that as cannon fodder to be like, oh, well, the Republicans, they want to censor speech now. Look, the FCC chair, he even said that he wanted to do that. It's all baloney, guys. We know it and you know it. Stop feeding into their narratives. Free speech isn't guaranteed by culture. Free speech is guaranteed by courage. Having the ability, like Charlie Kirk, to have healthy debate with people and change minds at the same time. If you silence someone you don't agree with, it's only a matter of time before people are going to come after you and silence you. So I'm going to ask you guys, how do you really feel about censorship? Do you feel it should be open for debate? Or do you feel like there should be some type of checks and balances on things that you say? Because like I said earlier, I don't believe in hate speech. I believe hate speech should also be protected speech. Unless it's yelling fire in a crowded theater or actually threaten somebody with bodily physical harm. Other than that, you should be able to say whatever the heck you want to say, because that's the United States of America. It's the first thing they wrote. The very first thing they wrote is freedom of speech. And we should all be allowed to say what we want to say at any given time that we want. So we need to hold on to that, because right now there's a tug of war with the right and the left. And who's going to dominate free speech? Who's going to actually make the choice to let open dialogue continue to happen like Charlie Kirk did? We'll see. It's going to be interesting. Well, that's it for today. Join me next time for a little chit chat, some observations, and some good old-fashioned conversation. Thanks.